Welcome to the Zachrilege cast. Brent Lee, welcome back to the show. So I had you on, I think 165, so 256.
Wow.
I feel like I've been having people on who were like last on 4 years ago, and I'm like, I'm just glad we're both alive. So it's cool to have you back on.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think your show is like one of the first that we did when we first started. So yeah, that was that was a big deal. It is a big deal. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having us on. For having
And
me
since
on.
then, you have blown up, at least in terms of like the amount of shows you're doing, and we'll get into that because it's for some people, podcasts are like potato chips. You can't have just one. But before we get started, so I had a little beer comparison. This is Dragon's Milk Reserve, and this is like the nice 12%. So this is the vanilla.
Nice.
And I got a local Orpheus Stouts all the way down Madagascar vanilla. So it's all vanilla all the time. I don't know if you can tell the difference because I have no lighting. I really do need to talk to like Steve Shives. He has a really nice like lighting setup. I have a lamp and it's like 7 o'clock, so I'm just using the light from outside, and I'm wearing my cat shirt because I'm representing. So
right, it looks good. We could, we get a good shot of your face, so that works. It's overwhelming on my side. It's just blasted.
I know it's quite bright, even though you're having like Noah's flood going on in Florida. Apparently, has it really been raining like a ton there over the past couple weeks? Because
yeah, well, it was like a drought for like I want to say like 6 weeks, something like that, and everybody's lawn is dead, and then all of a sudden it's just like every day, just torrential downpour, at least for 35 minutes, which is usually the case down in Florida. Like it comes and it goes.
And that is the summer in the South. Like that's a humidity thing in Georgia. It's like although it's been oddly a little bit cooler than usual, because generally we get like the 95 with like 99% humidity, and then if you're lucky, you get like a rainstorm, but then it's like immediately like 100% humidity, so it's not as fun. So what do you have beverage wise over there?
Oh, I got my and you're gonna love this. It's a Voodoo Ranger. There we go. Voodoo Ranger 9%. And I always start out with one of these, and then I go to just the basic. This just gets me by afterwards, but keeps me from drinking too much. If I start out strong and then go level out.
That's a good question. Like that's a beer theory that I should ask all my beer drinking friends. Like, when you know you're gonna have like more than one, do you start with like the strongest and go weaker, or do you improve as the night goes on for like heavier stuff, or the one you're looking forward to drinking the most? Because the worst thing is when you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop. This is my last one, and it's what I'm looking forward to, and you have a sip, you're like, I didn't really like that, and then you're like, wanting to try to talk yourself into another one when it's always a bad idea.
Right.
Sometimes it's fun going there. And I haven't done this in a little while, so let's do a couple of out of context quotes.
From
my research. You have to eat a baby first.
Oh God, really? That's what I said? See, oh wow. See, you have to eat a baby. And, okay. Yeah, I think I know the context of that.
And demons could get in me.
What? Say that one more time.
Demons could get in me.
If the demons could get in me?
Yeah, well, there's not if, just demons could get in me.
Oh,
demons. So the first one is from your new spinoff, Unapologetix After Dark panel show. Because right now you're doing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, so it's Unapologetix, you're doing the Unapologetix panel, and then Left at the Valley, the reboot.
Yeah, I got added to the roster for Left at the Valley. And yeah, with Unapologetix, it was we had done the same kind of format for like so long, and it just took so much work and everything, like just to kind of like we would itemize everything and sort of put it into these different little segments, and it just kind of got like we were just tired of doing it, and so Nikki wanted to do something a bit more like elaborate, like like try to do like maybe like essay type of podcasts, which take even more work. But I was like, well, we're not going to be able to be as frequent. So what I'll do is I'll have hit up Kevin and Sabrina and Benjamin, who's all friends of the show, and so they were like, yeah, we'll do a panel like just once a week, and then we can just pull from that. And so it's live every week, and the good ones we pull to put on the podcast, on the in between times. And me and Nikki still do interviews too. So it's right now we did oh man, Christy from Secular Sexuality.
Stroop, is that the name? Christy, I don't know. I can't.
Oh, Christy Powell.
Christy Powell. Oh, Powell. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was great. Yeah, it was really cool to talk to him. But it was neat because it was we do it live. We did it through the panel thing live, and then I just I take it down after a bit. So you got to catch it quick, and then it gets pulled down. But then I put it out as a podcast, just to take the audio.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the way I like to do it. And by the way, like 6 minutes into the show and didn't realize I'd actually was using my computer audio instead of my microphone audio. I'm like, how come it's coming out of the computer? Yeah. So the audio will be awesome. It's like, you have to do this every once in a while or you forget the steps. It's like, how come like my microphone's gathering dust, I've done like 2 shows in 3 weeks. It's not right. It's good to have a regular show. So you have the same people every week on the panel show?
Yeah, it's me, Kevin from Left at the Valley, Sabrina from Left at the Valley, and Benjamin, who's he's starting up his own new podcast. But I'm gonna let him do the whole reveal because I don't want to spoil it, But yeah, he's great. Nice. He's really cool. He's actually partners of Amy with an I from Secular Soup.
Oh yeah, Amy with an I can't do time zones. That was tough.
Yeah, we always.
It's like we're supposed to do a show and it's like 8 o'clock, but it's 7 my time. It's like, yeah, it didn't work.
Right.
It's for some people that little bit of math is a bit too much.
It fucks me up all the time because like for the panel show, we're in 3 different time zones. I'm in Eastern Standard Time in Florida. Benjamin is in Central Time in Texas, and then both Sabrina and Kevin are in, I think it's Pacific Standard Time in Canada. So we're like spanning like 3 different times. So I'm like having to like tell each one of them like what their timing is. I'm like, hold on, which one is yours? I gotta like get my phone out, and because I can't keep track. It's a lot.
So is that why you do it super late because of the time zone thing?
We were doing it super late. Yeah, well, that and I work really late. So I would just getting off of work at like 11 o'clock my time. And, I want to get off work and I like to hang out after work, but everybody's in bed. There's nobody around to do anything. And so it was cool that like, Kevin and Sabrina, they're like, it's like 8 o'clock there, so they're just like, hell yeah, we'll do a panel. And Benjamin he's an hour behind me. So, it's not too late for him. It's like 10 o'clock, but I was like, hell yeah, this is cool. So at least we can just hang out and have fun. And, we like to watch clips. We'll play clips of like Kat Kerr, and Rick Wiles and just, pretty much anything that.
Is that right. Rick Wiles got COVID, right? And then Kat was that she said there were like 5 billion angels that were coming to defend. I don't even know what it was. Yeah. She,
she's always saying, I almost feel bad, honestly, messing with her because it's like, something's, she's not well. But she has a huge following and people listen to her,
Yeah, you can't. It's like you can't feel bad because you're like, you listen to the crazy kind of religious shows and you're like, yeah, but this gets way more cultural cachet than like someone who says they're an atheist. There was that story. of the atheists given like the invocation in Florida, and like someone had to like instantly like do their own like anti-atheist chant. It's like, yeah, I think you got the culture on your side, so I wouldn't feel so bad, because at the same time, there's a lot of people who do like atheist kind of content who have quote unquote moved on. They're all about like social justice kind of issues, and it's good to have a combo. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, the religious debate is still ongoing. We're still not winning.
No,
just put it that way. And so to get out there and to talk is a critical thing. But with like 4 of you, do you do a lot of like, okay, here's the stories we're going to talk about? Or are you going to like?
It's very last minute, to be completely honest.
I like that.
Yeah, and I like
Sometimes
it that
it works
way.
out better that way. You're just like, do you want to talk about this? Great, let's move on. If not, okay, next subject.
Right. Yeah, and we kind of just we have like a little think tank on Facebook, just a little group that's private, and we, I just throw up stuff there as I run into it all week, and I kind of don't. And I made Benjamin is he's sort of our producer, and he kind of just picks the ones that he thinks are the best, and then he uploads them. So it's kind of a surprise for everyone, and a lot of times I don't even watch the videos. I will read through the beginning of the article and be like, okay, that could be cool. And then I just, just throw it up there. And cause I'm doing a bunch of stuff or whatever. I'd like it to be off cuff, and it's very similar to how Left at the Valley is. He, Kevin's very similar. Like, he doesn't like us to know what each other's going to be doing. So that, once we hear about it, it's our honest reaction, in real time, It's kind of fun.
Well, how does it work on that show? Since it does seem like Kevin's like the control freak, but he's kind of doing everything too. So,
yeah.
What's the lineup for that? I know you mentioned who is that? Sabrina is on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does both.
So it's Kevin, Sabrina, and I, and then we always interview a guest. Pretty much every episode, unless we have something really serious we want to talk about. To span the episode, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a control freak, but he like does, he sets the pace sort of for the show and decides what we're going to talk about for the opening chit chat. And then I do a segment which is called Another Brilliant Moment, brought to you by Religion. And so I do that segment, and he has no idea what I'm going to pull for that, so it's kind of all like
hard to find those segments, or is it I'll do a list like 2 miles long?
Yeah, no, I do it like 10 minutes before the show. Like, honestly, like I just
it's not hard to do.
It takes like 2 seconds to find something stupid that some religious person did or said, or and a lot of times I'll try to make it, because I'm the Florida representative, because it's a Canadian show, really. It's always been a Canadian show. So, but they wanted like an American, on the show. And so, Florida is, pretty much the dick of America. So that's, my spot,
Till it's underwater, it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, then it won't be. It'll get flaccid pretty soon here. But I do. Yeah. So when I do those segments, I totally forgot what I was saying. So you go ahead. No, because I'm American. Yeah. Sorry, the lightning threw me off, man. All right.
It is the difference. Yeah, the difference. I don't know. I mean, they have religious zealots in Canada as well. I mean, Canada was where, wasn't it the 200 corpses were found of like Native people, and it was like the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church was just like, "Ooh, my bad."
Yeah, but
let's go attack gay people now. Okay, cool. We're not going to give communion to the president.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's samesies.
Right. Yeah, and that was like a serious episode we did where we kind of took some, and it was difficult too, because we were generally pretty jovial, but that one was tough, because it's just like, whoa, like when that story came out, I was blown away. I had no idea that was something that happened anywhere, but yeah, it was very disappointing. And like you said, the Catholic Church was very much responsible for what was going on in those residential schools, and yeah, it was actually a really good episode. Nikki actually joined for that episode. It was really cool.
Special guest star, yeah. So what does she think about all your podcasting adventures? She just like, oh yeah, go away for a little while. Totally cool.
yeah, pretty much. She knows that this is something I like to do. Like it just it clears my head, and it keeps me sane. I used to hang out with people every single night, so um, I'm kind of shifted away from a lot of the people I used to be around and everything, and so now I don't really have a whole lot of friends. So it was really cool to be able to get into the podcast community and be able to hang out. That's just sort of what we do. Hang out.
Now, was that fun. Like a losing friends thing? Was that because of like you're leaving Christianity, or was that like a just COVID couldn't hang out at all type situation like everybody had? Like I'm still having leave the house. What's that?
Right. Yeah. No, it, I mean, it was, when I was hanging out with everybody every night, it was, for, religious reasons and everything. So when I left that community, it kind of, it's hard to just go to nobody, and then when I left the religious community, it was hard to relate to people that weren't in that little bubble. And so I ended up getting kind of stuck on a lot of drug use and stuff like that, because it was real easy to relate with people through that. And, I mean, that's not the only reason, I think, but I think it was something that that kind of bridged that gap and kind of made it like easy for me to meet new people and stuff like that. And then I quit all that stuff. And, so started podcasting, and then COVID happened. And, but it, then because we're podcasting and stuff in the new community that I'm a part of, it didn't really affect it too much. So it's actually all right.
Yeah, we're a bit ahead of the curve. Like we already knew about Zoom type stuff. And yeah, like Deborah mentioned in the chat, Sarah Ray was one of the two people in Florida that at least I read about who did an invocation, an atheist, secular invocation, and immediately got like yelled at by super religious believers who are,
Sarah's awesome. She's
they want a theocracy.
Yeah, they do the atheist community of Polk County. Really cool. We had her on the show not too long ago. She's really cool.
One thing about them is they do so much, they just make everybody else look bad, but that's okay. That's all right. We deserve it.
She did a post of her schedule, and I was just like, it was like every minute was accounted for. It's like, like, when do you go to the bathroom, dude? Like, what is this, Amazon? What are you doing? Jesus.
Well, the fun, it was like the secular week of action. They had like, these are events around the country, and half of them were the Polk County atheists. It's like, come on, guys, let somebody else play. It's clearly a needed thing. But part of being a podcaster is being like a guest on other podcasts. And, the one interview I found from you over the past couple of years where you got to be kind of the guest, but kind of not. You were on Truth Wanted. What was it like being on one of those Atheist Community of Austin shows? Because it's similar to Atheist Experience, except it's not as Matt yelling at people.
Right. Because I think the point is to use like street epistemology kind of tactics, right? And so you're supposed to just kind of like just be asking a lot and he's really good at it. Shoot, what's his name? Dang, I can't think of it. I'm having a brain fuck.
I should have written it down.
Yeah, no, he's
You're the only name that matters, man.
No, but
you look up Truth Wanted on YouTube, you'll get it, and I'll link too for the show. I don't know. They tend to rotate guest like hosts on there, so it's never quite sure who's hosting what. But
yeah, and that was cool too, because it's like it's the ACA show that kind of that kind of platforms people to help them get more views and stuff like that. It's really cool. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. there was some problems at the time because like my their program wouldn't work on the computer, so I had to actually call in as like a caller and then be the host. Like I was just holding my phone the whole time, so it was really difficult to hear it at times and stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun. It was still really cool.
It's kind of a throwback because like one of the first shows I discovered was like Atheist Experience, and just remember the Matt Dillahunty and guests like taking down, but then it was just like anybody would call in. Actually, the episode you were on, I don't think they had one guy, I can't remember, he was 7 something or others. He was trying to come up with other like kind of arguments for Christianity, but it wasn't like the hardcore flat earth Christian. Were you kind of disappointed that it didn't seem like there was like a hardcore like Christian on there? Because usually you get 1 or 2, and
right.
they put them up toward the front on the list of people who call in, right?
Yeah, and I remember
and they
that.
should.
And I'm so used to, because like the type of Christianity that I was involved in was like very fundamental, fundamentalist, and just evolution isn't true. Demons are everywhere trying to get you through music and movies and whatever. So we did nothing but watch Christian movies or like Disney movies or whatever, and stuff like that. So it was very bubbled, and he was not like that. So it was interesting for me to try to kind of debate him on that, or try to at least ask the right questions, and go with the tactic that they seem to do so much. But it was fun.
Yeah, initially when I listened to those shows, it's like, man, how is someone prepared for these kind of things? And it's like, well, you're not really. I mean, someone who's been doing it for 10, 20 years is probably prepared for anything, but in a way it's like, yeah, you just kind of go whatever you got off the top of your head, and you probably have a lot of stuff happening in that realm. And I do want to kind of get back to debating, but I totally forgot to bring this up even before the show started. So how are you doing now? Like your dad, I believe it was like a couple weeks ago, died. I just want to know how you were doing with that. If you want to segue that into any kind of like grieving as an atheist versus being a Christian, because you have that background, just, however much you want to talk about it, let me know.
Yeah, no, that was a tough one, because I've never really, I had a friend not too long ago, like about a year ago, pass away, but that was like my first, this has been like my first real experience of losing someone that's really close to me. And so, I, and it was tough because it was the day before my birthday. And then,
Yeah, I remember you getting all these like happy birthday and, oh, sorry about your dad. It's like, what a, like,
yeah,
yay, weird. Can I blow some candles out? Oh, so much fun. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just, it wrecked me for a minute there. And I'm still, I'm still dealing with it in my own way, I guess. It's just, it was tough too, because my when I was born on Father's Day. So, and he always said, oh, he was my Father's Day present, it's kind of the thing. So it was like my birthday, or my dad died, and then my birthday, and then Father's Day, like almost within like a couple days, it was like 3 days, I think, in a row. And so, yeah, it was just, it just like kind of hammered me on that front right there, and it's difficult, I think, talking. I don't think it's having being religious or whatever actually helps you feel better. I think that it just makes it easier to talk to other people. You know what I mean? Because you can always say, well, I'll pray for you, and he's in a better place, and you got all these like go-to phrases that you can say.
Mm-hmm.
And when everybody pretty much in my family knows that I'm an atheist, so I can't really say any of that stuff, so I got to just, be honest and be like, if there's anything you need, please reach out and let me know. And I just, this is like, if you want to talk, let's talk, and they kind of do the same thing. Well, I'm praying for you, and he's in a better place and all that. And I kind of, and I'm kind of just nodding along. I try not to respond. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's probably tough when you're going through your own grief, because you think about theoretically like how you do in a situation like that, but you're not gonna be like, well, if you think he's in a better place, I think he's in heaven. Why are you sad? That's the kind of like mental thing you'd go say to a Christian at a funeral, but not when you're actually grieving yourself.
Right.
But yeah, I was just wondering how religious, because you're talking about how your mom was pretty religious and how you're having some weird conversations with her, and this was before your dad died. You're talking about that, but just how is that relationship with your mom and dealing with this?
It's tough, and she's kind of, I feel so badly, for her, because she's just going through so much, and I think it's almost good that you have to do. There's so much you have to do, when someone that close to you passes away. You have to, to get the life insurance and all this. You got to plan the funeral. You got to do all these things, and it's like it almost doing all that stuff just helps you just focus your brain, into that, and just kind of pour yourself into it, and it kind of distracts you, I think, from the overwhelming weight of the grief that is there. And it's good. The dam's gonna break soon, but for the moment, you're kind of just like, I got to do this, and it just keeps you sort of in this little this realm. And she's, that's where she's at, and so I'm just trying to help her with that, anything like we just my grandmother was living there, and she was moved into a assistant living facility. So with like that kind of occupied a lot of our, and I'm just like, I'll just help, do whatever. I'll help you move, if you need me to move stuff, whatever, I'll do whatever I can to like help, and help clean the house or whatever. And so that's I think that's been kind of comforting for her, but it's, she's just kind of in that mode, but yeah,
there is a lot that you have to do and kind of organize, and you also have to make sure you're like entertaining people in a way. But I mean, yeah, there's that I don't know, I feel like two of the like family funerals I've been through in the past few years, I feel like the guy who did the service, like it was like kind of a religious service, didn't seem to like know the person. Like they were talking about them like in kind of an abstract, like they had a speech already set, and it was more about, hey, the church is good, instead of like actually talking about the person. I mean, it's hard to beat like, hey, they're in a better place, they're in heaven, but at the same time it's like, well, how do people stay alive after they've died? It's like through the people they knew and loved, and that's all you really do, is you get to like, you're still part of your dad, and you get to tell stories when you have a chance, and you get to like hang out with the friends and family who knew him, and that's that's really all you can do. But yeah, how you deal with it emotionally, it's going to be up and down. You're not going to be able to predict it for a while.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. As it's weird because like I have so much of him in me. Like the sense of humor, the types of the way I joke around and stuff like that. Like it's so much like him that it's and so that just me existing makes those emotions kind of come to the surface. And when I make a joke or something, I'll go to the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror and be like, "Gosh, I'm my dad. This is crazy," And so it has been like really up and down as far as like emotions go. And I think I'm doing okay. Nikki's so supportive and great that she's made it a lot easier for me to kind of let me. She knows, she lost somebody, her mother, very recently as well. So we're kind of both nodding to each other like I get it, like kind of thing,
Yeah.
And so it's been tough, but we're making it, we're getting through. But yeah.
Well, I'm sorry going through that, because I feel like a lot of people I know are in my age range where if it's not parents, it's grandparents who are getting to the age where they're having trouble taking care of themselves, and you kind of see it coming, but you almost don't want to believe it.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's
you're
not
never going to be
real.
totally prepared for it. And just, it's tough because that's one person that you've had in your life since the beginning. And then for them to be gone is just a devastating, just concept as well.
Yeah, it's almost like it just doesn't make sense. Like I feel like the first like through that, the birthday and Father's Day, like it was just like it was almost like it wasn't real. Like I could still just pick up the phone and give him a call. And then on Father's Day, that was the thing. I was like, I kept pulling my phone out to be like, oh, because you'd see, all the TV commercials and everybody's referencing Father's Day, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to call my dad. And that was just like, oh wait, and it's just it's so weird, it's just a mind
Mm-hmm.
fuck, really, and it came in sort of slow, the reality of it. It was just, yeah, it was tough. But I think, and it's someone was asking in the comments how you deal with this as an atheist, and really it's just go to people that you love, and just allow them to comfort you and just talk to them and just be with those people, and just being there with one another, it does help. And another thing I do want to say real quick is that I didn't know if I should post it on social media. I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't do this because that's weird. I don't know if that's disrespectful or whatever, but I did do it, and the responses that you get, they are helpful. They do help. When you can just scroll through and just everybody's like, man, and it's just you relating to everybody and them relating to you in a human way. I think was very helpful. Just
I
just to give
mean,
you that peace of mind for a couple seconds while you're scrolling through, and it was actually really cool, and I'm glad I did it.
for as much as I have like a love-hate relationship with Facebook, I do. It's like when your birthday happens and all these people you haven't heard from, and they only really talk to you once a year. It does give you a bit of a boost. And when you do mention that you're struggling, and I see people, my timeline is all about that. People are a lot more open than I would be about just the daily struggles they have. I think there's something to be said to be able to just kind of like offer a virtual hug because you're most likely not going to be physically close to this person, and just to be able to say, I don't know, just a little bit of like positivity and trying to help someone. And then that fact, as Deborah just said, like you're not alone. I know there's a group called, I think it's Grief Beyond Belief, and it was a atheist who had like lost the child and just figured out how to deal with it. And just there are support groups out there. It's just you're trying to deal with it as honestly as possible.
Yeah.
Now, this could be the worst segue I've ever done in the history of this show, just to let you know. So you're dealing with some difficult stuff right now, but you've also debated like Christians. So what about, like, you really seem to enjoy doing that? Like that's part, you call yourself, I think is it the happy atheist debater, happy debating atheist?
Yeah,
Is that your official term?
That actually was the title of it before, and we kind of rebranded once we made the switch with Unapologetix, and I just made it Unapologetics panel stream for two reasons. One was that atheist is bad. That's bad. You can't put that in your YouTube title. Otherwise, you get put to the back of the list with all like the Nazis and all this other shit. That
They might be at the front, actually. Yeah.
I mean, if they're not as explicitly Nazis, but like the Stormfront guys and shit, you get put back with those guys. So, and Ethan Michael was telling me that, and so not only that, but then we kind of went through the change with the show as far as like splitting up the show between panel episodes and deep dive episodes. And so we when we did that whole change, I was just like, I'll just switch the title. But I really do enjoy debate. I and it's like I say debate, but it's like it's more just a conversation. I try to be disarming and be nice to people, and give them some friendly conversation from opposing viewpoints. and I think that it helps. I try to use comedy, and not like making fun of them, but try to get them to laugh, because it's really weird how disarming that is for them, and then they'll be more honest after that, and they're not just trying to do gotcha stuff. Because when you make when you're with someone and you make them laugh, it seems like they kind of relate to you in a very human way, and so that was like sort of the tactic that I would try to use, and it seemed to be very effective. Honestly, kind of made people just chill out and want to just okay, but I seem to feel like it's like that, whatever, and they relax. They're not trying to do gotcha shit,
It does seem like debates, I don't know, they do end up being like a bit of combat, and it's like dehumanizing the other person, or at least dehumanizing their point of view.
right?
And it becomes really tough. Like some of the Robert Stanley, the Right to Reason stuff I've listened to has been really rough. It's interesting when he does the debate as opposed to when he's hosting it. I think he would prefer to do that. Are there subjects you just like are dying, you just don't mind doing, or is it?
Sorry, down the wrong pipe.
Exactly. Hold on, you're gonna be fine.
I got a bubble.
You can make it.
You get a bubble and it'll start talking like this. So hold on. And you got to swallow, and then you get normal again. Anyway, yeah, right. No, honestly, I can't even tell you how many times I've been on the Right to Reason. But yeah, there are like I was offered to debate David Silverman, and I turned that down. And then
you like the first, was that the systemic racism one, or is that a different one?
Yeah, that was what it was for. Yes, and I and I kind of like felt like I kind of felt like I should have, because I mean he did all right, but it was just the points that should have been made I felt like really weren't made. Because he was pissing him off, and that's a tactic
I felt
that they use.
Bad for Steve Hill, because like there are debates where you're like debating what's the best way to deal with like a taxation policy, but when it comes to systemic racism, it's like you're basically debating someone's like reality.
Yeah,
and of course Steve Hill was pissed because basically it was weird that he and Dan Silverman like are still friends, but I guess it's like, man, there are some people who just stay friends no matter what. But because he was like basically attacking a community and doing the conservative thing that weirdly never came up during his American Atheist time about how like, oh, African American community is just bad, and it's like, okay, you believe that, so now I don't know, it's just rating like victimhood or rating the races is just like, if you're doing that, I don't even know how you have a conversation.
Yeah, and that that was what was, and I feel like that needed to get brought up, was the fact that, hey man, you did a switcheroo, and you can call it ad hominem all you want, but here's the reality: is you got in trouble for some shit. And the only people that would take you in were the people whose ideas you agree with now. And that's what you're doing. You're literally just reciting Fox News shit, and it's embarrassing, that most of us, were looking at you before going, yeah, that guy's cool debating people on Fox News. Now he's literally practically the spokesman in the atheist community. I mean, he was at CPAC, for Christ's sake. The place with the golden Trump statue.
It was weird because like he went to CPAC when he was sort of on a quote unquote our side, but when he went the latest time, it did seem like he was more the atheist for liberty people. Anytime you have liberty in your name, it probably means you're probably fascist, but
Yeah, which is so funny.
I don't want to.
Ironic.
I really don't want to talk about that guy anymore. Have you had a debate where you're like, maybe it could be a Christian, it could be maybe someone like on the non-progressive side, where someone like made a point that kind of changed your mind? Is there like an example you have, or just maybe you saw an argument from a different point of view?
Oh yeah. Well, just recently, I love, this is why I think it's important to be honest on your in your debates. And if somebody proves you wrong, go, okay, yeah, you got me, because it's important to be honest about this stuff. So I was like, literally, we just had we did our panel episode last night. And it's still up if you want to watch it. It's it's like 3 hours long though. So, I mean, strap in. But it's, but it's a Unapologetix panel stream. If you look that up on YouTube, and we had a Christian with us. And it was weird because, like, you see things, you hear things from different people, and I heard this one thing from several different atheists, that Horus had the same attributes as Jesus, right? That he was born on December 25th of a virgin. He spoke to he taught the elders at the age of 12. He died at the age of 33, right? And it's supposed to be kind of like, oh, see, this is all made up and it's just based off this old stuff, right? And the person that was on the show actually had, they're a historian, they're a Bible scholar, historian, and Egyptian history and stuff like that, and theology was sort of his bag, and so he was like, no, Horus wasn't that. First, he wasn't born of a virgin, and he didn't teach the elders at the age of 12.
It'd be like, neither is Jesus.
Right.
Mary just had a really good story. Anyway,
but and I just was like, okay, yeah, and I can't really argue with it, and I kind of looked it up afterwards, and he was right. And so you gotta, and I think doing that though, and being honest, like when you're proven wrong about something, just be like, okay, you're right, and update your position, because that's what it's all about, right? Is learning and just do the best you can until you know more, and then do better. That's what you do. And a lot of times we do hear things from a bunch of people that isn't true, but we log it away. We think it makes sense, and or think it's valid, and we might repeat it to somebody, and then they demonstrate that that's not true. And then what you need to do is go, oh shit, I was wrong. Like, update my position, and and not double down and be like, no, just look it up and make sure, double check. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. It's okay. Everybody's wrong a lot, and it's fine,
But Brent, we all know, and this is fact right here, we all know that who wins in a debate is 100% based on how many subscribers you have, which is why Steven Crowder bailing out on that interview with Sam Cedar / Ethan, whatever his name, earlier this week just meant that he won, right? That whole thing. I don't even know if it's worth getting into, but it was a big thing on YouTube, I'll just say.
That shit was hilarious. I was so happy when this happened. Like I'm getting it again. I'm giddy. Like, it was so fun.
It's like anytime someone like Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro like open their mouth, they say something like dumb and ignorant, but they know, like, oh, my audience is eating this stuff up, like, like a super cooked steak with ketchup on it by Trump, that kind of thing. Like, they're just into it. But the whole concept, it's like H3. I only knew of this guy, Ethan, because I'm a big fan of Hassan Piker, and I saw him get interviewed by this guy, and I still wasn't sure what this guy's all about. I still have no idea what he's about. But he made a comment about, like, COVID and basically saying, like, trust the scientists. And Steven Crowder, of course, went after him because anything Trump says is totally legit. But anything a scientist says, when, like you say, scientists discover the truth and they may change things over time, that's a good thing, but it's bad in his mind. So he said, hey, Ethan, let's do a debate. And Ethan was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Sam Cedar, who's a progressive, and he has like 1 million followers. Steven Crowder is like 6, which is nuts. The guy who wears the gun holster and is like a bad actor who dresses up like a woman half the time and has people come on and say the N-word and just does terrible things. You don't even, but he came on to debate this guy who admitted that he didn't know anything about politics. But then he snuck Sam Cedar, who's an actual like guy who knows what he's talking about, on, and instantly Steven Crowder, and he said the F word, and I thought, aren't you like this Christian guy, didn't have sex till I got married? And he's like, fuck, I'm in trouble, and he ran away. It was funny, but it was the ultimate like nothing, because it was like, oh, this debate's gonna happen, and then the debate was just a bait and switch, and then the guy left, and then the sides coalesced around their fighter, and that was the end of it. All the people on Steven Crowder's side were like, you ambushed him, and then it was like, and then people were just like, well, can he debate? If his side is right, you should be able to win. I mean, when you famously are all about debating college students who don't know what they're talking about.
Because here's the thing.
And that's all Ben Shapiro's stuff is about, and all his stuff is about. It's like, debate someone who knows what they're talking about. You should be able to win easily.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like H3H3 like does have the same amount of followers, right? As or like a significant amount of followers, I guess, that Crowder would be okay with, right? To be able to debate. And he brought this other guy on who's actually a political analyst. So if the guy, you know what I'm saying? Like if everybody knows that this guy has, because if their whole argument is that they're not enough, Sam Cedar who or whatever, Sam who, is like, I don't, my listeners aren't going to know who he is, if that's your argument, well, here's this other guy that does have the amount of followers that you say is okay, and he brought him on because he said straight up, like you said, that he's not into politics. He doesn't debate, and then when he brings him on, that means that those people, his audience, at least those whatever 6 million viewers or whatever, know who Sam Cedar is because of him. They might not frequent his show, but
the best part about it was that
you clam up.
Crowder acted like he didn't know who Cedar was, and then he was like, oh, you tried to be a stand-up comedian. I'm like, and then both guys were like, Crowder, you used to be a comedian and you've never like said a funny joke in your life. Right. You're very like transphobic and very like racist and just terrible. And
it's
just makes jokes about the wokes. And it's like, yeah, do trial by combat. Like Ethan picks his guy and Steven Crowder can pick whoever, Heritage Foundation, whatever. I mean, they don't have experts, as we've learned recently on CRT. But okay, so that was fun. But I haven't really talked anywhere 47 minutes in. Like, how are you just living in Florida? Like your governor and Deborah's governor too, every day just comes up with stuff that would be hilarious if it weren't just being rubber stamped by the, very Republican legislature you have going on. And
well, when Trump moved down here, it kind of put a target on back, front, everywhere. Just
he's moved back to isn't he in Jersey now? He moved to his summer or whatever quarters. Like he's gone from Mar-a-Lago. He shouldn't technically be living. I thought I saw that a while back. Like he moved to some golf, another one of his properties for the summer.
Oh well, thank you.
But I mean, his official address is Florida, where he votes by mail, but you shouldn't because it's bad because it's Democrat.
And it's so funny too, because like and Deborah, like watch DeSantis when he's talking, and watch his hands, and look how much he does this. It's amazing. It's like he's trying to like cosplay fucking Trump. Like it's really weird. And the way he answers questions is by like getting mad at the people asking the question. It's incredible. I'm just like, oh my God.
There's
how do we have like mini Trump?
This whole thing of like they're gonna have like a smarter Trump. But the thing is, I think Trump being authentically whatever he is something that no one else can try to do. It's like you can't cosplay being Trump because no one is that authentically dumb, but then he says like something folksy and he does like the kind of dance that would have ended anybody's, like he says things that would end anybody's political career, and he moves like someone that, remember what was the guy who was in the Democrat side and he like yelled out once and that ended his thing. That was He was running for president a few years ago. But it's like the little things that get people, like Trump, for some reason, is immune to any of that. So DeSantis, anybody, like when they do a poll, like I think DeSantis is like number 2, but Trump is way ahead in terms of like who is any possible guy who's going to run 2024.
And
but
it's going to be,
he's leaning into it. He's like, and the Republicans are smart to do this because their base is dying off quickly. So they have to just get as much stuff written in as they can while they can. Because as you saw like a few months ago, it's like, yeah, Trump lost Georgia. And the funny thing is he just basically admitted defeat in 2 of the counties. He admitted like that his lawsuit had no merit and he's going to pay the people off. That will never get any traction. And of course, the people paying it will not be him. Like, when was the last time Trump paid for something himself? Because he's always had somebody paying for him.
And I think that's where the Mexico, like, we'll pay for the wall thing came from. Because he's like, I'm going to do this. Okay. And they're going to pay for it. Because that's how I work. Okay. You know, and it's like everything is some, like, weird, fucked up thing in his brain, you know, that he tries to put into policy. And, but that's the way he sells it to everybody. It's incredible. I'm honestly, it's weird. I'm like 50% fascinated by the whole phenomenon, you know, that this idiot, because I mean, this idiot is what caused me to become an atheist, you know, is because once this happened, I was like, you guys are fucking kidding, right? You know, and they were like, no,
you two are,
no, bro.
I mean, he's probably, as people say, and maybe it'll officially happen before he dies, but it would be pretty awesome if he was officially became like our first atheist president, because he was so beloved by the religious right. You could tell they will literally follow anybody. Like you said, you mentioned that whole CPAC. It was the weird, like, gold. It was a golden Trump, but he was wearing like flip-flops. And I'm like, dude, does
like
not wear
boxing
flip-flops.
Shorts. Like, he was like wearing boxing, or they were board shorts. I don't know what they were. You know, maybe because that was Florida or something. They were like, put him in
that is the ultimate. Emperor has no clothes. Because if you go to like, because you're in a like a touristy kind of area. If you go to like tourist shops, they're going to have a Trump corner, and it always shows Trump with like big muscles or holding a machine gun. And I'm like, the dude can't hold a squirt gun. He can't hold a glass of water, but he's become the avatar of manliness.
He looks like
is just so American. It's so beautiful.
He looks like an anthropomorphized slug. It's like, I always feel like that. Like his head just goes right into his body, just like a slug.
It's weird because like I'm in Georgia and we have a governor who's super Republican, but because he didn't help Trump like steal the state, they're going to try to find someone further to the right of him, and I'm kind of scared to see how it turns out. There's like a former Democrat black guy who's running, and he is basically doing the Trump playbook, and it's just like, you don't believe a word you say, but I think you're going to do just fine, because that's politics right now.
That is. It's just say the right stuff.
I mean, Florida, the ultimate, like, here's what's going on in Florida is what you probably saw today. It was like that apartment complex in Miami that just collapsed. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's Florida. Stuff's going to start falling apart, and people are just going to be like, how'd they get? Probably Democrats. That's how it got this way. So
yeah, I mean, it's almost going to be like the Tucker Carlson, like the reason that the pipes exploded in Texas was because of the Green New Deal, y'all.
Wind farms, yeah, the stuff that would never get passed by our current administration.
It's the oil tycoon of the fucking country. What are you talking about? It's fucking Texas. Like, I don't even have to look anything up. I know that's stupid as hell. Come on, really? Texas went green. Are you really gonna try to convince me of that? Like, and they just heat it up. They're just like, yeah, it's a Green New Deal. That's
they
what
have
happens.
Like 10 windmills in the state. They should have a lot because Texas is a very, very large state. It takes like 3 days to drive across it. But anyway, so we've so before we call it a night, how do people find all of your amazing content?
Okay, so
there will be links, people. There will be links.
Cool. If you look up on YouTube and look up Unapologetix panel stream, if you click the like button and do the bell, you'll see when we're going live. And you can interact. We will interact with you if you comment.
We will interact with you. Be warned.
Yeah, I promise. Like, unless it's an interview. If it's an interview with me and Nikki, I don't know. I don't know. It's a swing or miss. We can, we'll determine it at the time, depending upon what we're talking about. But the other thing is you can go on. We're on. If you look up Unapologetix spelled with an X on pretty much any podcasts player, we should most likely be there. And Left at the Valley, always, and same thing with Left at the Valley. If you look up Left at the Valley, I think they have a website. I should probably learn that. I think it's leftatthevalley.com, or actually, and you can find us there. I think we're at LATV on Twitter. And you can always look me up on Facebook, which is just Brent Lee, and I pretty much just post all the stuff there. And I'm really trying to get out of Facebook fights, but I don't know. It's
good luck
tough.
with that.
It's tough. I'm trying to quit. it's addictive. They need to have a group for that or something. Some sort of.
Oh yeah, 12 Facebook thing.
Yes. Getting out of like Facebook fights. Like,
and thanks for coming in right at the end, Moto Gisevan. Anyway, in the chat room. So thank you, Brent, for being online. And the wrath of God did not strike us down during this show. So that was excellent.
It was trying. No. Like the whole computer shut down a couple times. Like, and it came back up. So that's
power
not God,
prayer.
Apparently, then.
It saved us. Well, thank you, Brent, for being on tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back, man. This was awesome.
No problem.